I started studying Savarkar and his thoughts quite late in life, in the mid 90s. My father, when I was small, used to tell me one thing about Savarkar. He used to say that the Congress party and the nation have been very unfair to Savarkar in the backdrop of the sacrifices he had made for the nation. He is most closely associated with his 10 years of incarceration in the cellular jail in Andaman and Nicobar, which better known as Kalapani, and then 4 years under similar circumstances in Ratnagiri. And the kind of atrocities he had to face as a prisoner is something which has no parallel. If one by one, if the kind of जो यातनाएं उनको दी गई वो एक के बाद एक अगर मैं आपको गिनवाना शुरू करूं तो एक कुछ मिनटों में आपके आंख में आंसू आ जाएंगे. तो जो सावरकर की जो इमेज है देश के अंदर वो एक क्रांतिकारी की है, ऐसे व्यक्ति की जिसने देश के लिए बलिदान दिया था. पर उनके एक और साइड है जिसको हमने हाईलाइट, मेरी जो नई पुस्तक आई है मेरी और चिरायु पंडित मेरे सह लेखक की, इज सावरकर द मैन हु कुड हैव प्रिवेंटेड पार्टीशन. सो नेशन नोज द सावरकर who fought for the nation as a great revolutionary, who suffered great hardships for his motherland. But the nation doesn't know Veer Savarkar, who fought to prevent India's partition. And if had India adopted his national security and diplomatic vision, India would have been a superpower by now. Therefore, at the end of the book, we say that if Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation, then Savarkar should be regarded as the father of India's national security. So, today's आज का जो शीर्षक है विषय का वो है सावरकर मिथ एंड रियलिटी. तो मिथ जो है वो फैलाई गई है उनको बदनाम करने के लिए. तो रियलिटी कुछ अलग है. जैसे उनको बात कहा जाता है कि वो डिविजिव है. उन्होंने मुसलमानों को, उनकी जो आइडियोलॉजी है मुसलमानों के लिए उसमें कोई जगह नहीं है. देयर इज नो प्लेस फॉर मुस्लिम्स इन हिज आइडियोलॉजी. And therefore, he is a divisive figure. He is not a unifier. Now, that is totally opposite to what he was. If you look at his efforts to prevent India's partition, if you look at his efforts to his vision for India's growth, you will find that he is the biggest symbol of India's unity and integrity. Now, then why he has been projected as divisive? The reason is that very early on, Congress started indulging in appeasement of the Muslim community in the hope that the Muslim community entirely will join the national mainstream and its fight against the Britishers. Now, what was the situation at that time? The situation was that a significant section of the Muslims was opposed to the freedom struggle because it felt that if Britishers go, then Hindus, by the dint of their progress, their education, and familiarity with the modern tools of development would rule over this country where Muslims have ruled for 600, 700 years. So they were of the opinion, what they wanted was that Britishers should not leave, because if the Britishers leave, then the command of the nation will automatically go in the hands of the Hindus. This was the thinking of a significant section of the Muslim community, not all. Therefore, the Congress thought, Congress always believed that Hindus and Muslims should be fighting on the same plane against the Britishers. And therefore, the Congress started wooing the Muslim community. When it found that there is opposition among the Muslims to joining the struggle, Congress struggle against Britishers, the Congress started appeasing them. The first sign of appeasement was the 1916 Lucknow Pact. There was a pact, Lucknow Pact, between Congress and Muslims. This pact was regarding representation of Hindus and Muslims in provincial assemblies. So it was decided. It was the first major compromise by Congress, major appeasement by Congress of the Muslim community. In this pact, it was decided that in the Hindu majority provincial assemblies, which you can call them today states, state governments, state assemblies, where Hindus would get 100 seats in the assembly. There's a formula which was worked out. Muslims would get 200 to 300 seats. But the same preferential treatment to the Hindus was not given in the Muslim majority provinces. This was the first step towards Muslim appeasement. Then came, this was when Tilak was the head of the Congress. Soon after, Mahatma Gandhi came. He became the leader of the Congress, and his policies, his beliefs took this whole Congress policy of Muslim appeasement much further, because he believed that there cannot be freedom without Hindu-Muslim unity. And for that, somehow, his beliefs were such that his model was such that Hindu-Muslim unity, which could be called Hindu-Muslim unity at Hindu cost. You see, when you have a joint partnership, then both the partners have to sacrifice for a common cause. This was not the case in the model which was floated by Shraddheya Mahatma Gandhi. His model was that whatever Hindu-Muslim unity at Hindu cost. Now, how it manifested? In Turkey, the Sultan was unseated by the Western world, including the Britishers, around 1913-14. 1913. Against that, a pan-Islamic movement was launched across the world, including by a section of Indian Muslims. The movement, the aim of the movement was to reinstate the Sultan of Turkey, because he was the Khalifa of the Muslim community across the world. And therefore, a movement was started in India to reinstate the Sultan of Turkey, in Turkey as Sultan. And in India, Mahatma Gandhi saw it as an opportunity to bring the Muslim into the mainstream and make them partners in the fight against the British, without realizing that when you support a movement like this, where the territorial loyalties, the loyalty lies outside the nation. The loyalty is not to the motherland. It is to somebody else outside the nation. Then for that the nation has to pay a very heavy price. This Gandhiji did not realize. And because of Khilafat movement, there were riots in Kerala where Muslims thrashed Hindus and Christians both in a bid to establish an Islamic Sultanate, Caliphate, and thousands of Hindus were killed and thousands of Hindus were raped by Muslims in the Khilafat movement, which was directly a result of Congress and Mahatma Gandhi supporting the pan-Islamic aims of a section of Muslim community. Thereafter, Congress and Gandhiji should have withdrawn, but they did not. They tried to underplay the atrocities which were done by a section of Kerala Muslims against Hindus and Christians, which resulted in killings of lakhs of thousands of Hindus and Christians, and their rapes of thousands of Hindu and Christian women. So, Muslim appeasement, we started at Lucknow in 1916. By 1920-22, had moved much forward. Savarkar was in jail. He was in Andaman Nicobar at that time in Jackson murder case. This was when he was in England. He was accused of being a party to the murder of Collector Jackson of Nashik and of instigating young Hindu boys into revolution against the British. He was the inspirer of Madanlal Dhingra. He was the inspirer of Lala Hardayal. These are very big names in India's revolutionary struggle. And for that, in 1910, he was arrested in London and sentenced to 60 years of rigorous imprisonment. And he was brought to India and he was sent to Andaman Nicobar. So Savarkar was in jail. He had already passed about 10-12 years in jail in Andaman, in Silver jail. And that time, this Khilafat thing happened. He was in jail. Though he was in jail, he used to get all the reports there. Then after 1920, he was moved to Ratnagiri. At that time, actually, he was in Ratnagiri. And there he wrote a book called Hindutva. This book is sold as one which excludes Muslims from the national framework, which is totally wrong. This book was a code to protect Hindus and their culture from the pan-Islamic designs of Muslims and even Christians who convert sometimes. So this was a code of self-defense. It was not a book which was preaching that Muslims have no place in the country. But it was warning the Hindu community against the dangers coming particularly from a section of Muslim community. Around the same time, this book was written in 1923, and around 2 years later, Dr. Endeavour floated RSS. Both were in reaction to the Khilafat movement and the results, the horrifying results which produced for the Hindus. So that's how this whole thing for Hindutva began. So when Savarkar came, Savarkar passed another 13 years In Ratnagiri, in internment, he was allowed to move around freely in Ratnagiri, but he was asked not to take part in any political activity. He could lead. He could do other activity, and therefore he led in 13 years. He did the biggest work of eradicating untouchability. His work against untouchability is as good and as important and as crucial as Mahatma Gandhi's. The nation does not know. And he decided to take on the business of untouchability head on. He used to organize inter-caste dinners where Dalits, Brahmins, Marathas, and other castes used to sit together and eat. Then he opened the first temple officially where Dalits were allowed entry, allowed to pray. This is the temple of Lakshmi Narayan, which he built in Ratnagiri, which is known as Patit Pavan Mandir. In 1937, Veer Savarkar was released from internment and he was allowed to take part in political activity. By that time, the Muslim appeasement of Congress and Mahatma Gandhi had gone further. So in 1937, Subhash Chandra Bose and two other leaders of the Congress invited Savarkar to join Congress, saying that Savarkar ji, if you join Congress, Congress will be strengthened. Savarkar refused. Savarkar said that Congress is indulging in Muslim appeasement at the cost of Hindu rights. And to do Muslim appeasement at the cost of Hindu rights in Bharat Varsha is betrayal of the nation. And he said, with that he issued a statement. He said, I would like to stand in the last row of true patriots, that the first row of those who are betraying the nation in the name of patriotism. And he said that Congress has gone so far ahead on the path of Muslim appeasement that it is impossible for Congress to retrace its steps. He issued another statement addressing the Muslims. He said, Muslim brothers, if you want to join this fight against Britishers for India's freedom, you are welcome. We will fight together. If you don't want to join, still we will carry on with this fight. And if you oppose, even then we will carry on with this fight against Britishers for attaining nation's freedom, independence. Against that, Gandhiji was saying that there cannot be freedom without Hindu-Muslim unity. Therefore, Savarkar saw that this belief of Gandhi will be exploited by Muslims to get more and more concessions for the Muslim community at the cost of Hindu rights. And therefore, he decided to join a small party called Hindu Mahasabha, which did not believe in Muslim appeasement, which opposed Muslim appeasement. And he chose to become the president of Hindu Mahasabha in 1937 December at the Ahmedabad session of the party. I, as a historian, think this was a Rana Pratap kind of sacrifice made by Veer Savarkar. The reason is, had he joined Congress, he could have risen to any height within the party with some compromise. But he put national interest before his personal interest. He joined because the greatest menace to the country at that time was from the policy of Muslim appeasement being pursued by the Congress. And therefore, he decided to become the head of that party which was opposing this policy of Muslim appeasement. So, Savarkar's fight was not for seeking special treatment for Hindus or special rights for Hindus. It was a fight for equal treatment for all. Now, how things stood in 1937 when Congress joined, when Savarkar joined Hindu Mahasabha. Four major things had happened. Students and friends, let me share with you that we often sing the poems written by Sir Muhammad Iqbal, the author of Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara, a very patriotic song. But most of you must not be aware that within 2-3 years of writing this poem, patriotic poem, he had become a pan-Islamist. He had become a communal person who wanted a separate nation for the Muslims after dividing India. So those Indians who sing his poems are unaware that Iqbal today is the father of Pakistan. Here we are not even aware that Iqbal became a communal person within couple of years of writing Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara. This Iqbal in 1930, in the Prayagraj session of the Hindu Mahasabha, he was the one who first saw that a separate nation will be carved out from India at the behest of Indian Muslims. And he said, in that session, he had said that I see the future homeland of Indian Muslims in Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Balochistan and Sindh, precisely today's Pakistan. Now, this happened in 1930. In 1932, a man called Rehmat Ali Chaudhary was studying in Oxford. He was an Indian Muslim from Jalandhar. He also was a votary of a separate nation for Hindus, for Muslims. He coined the word Pakistan in 1932. He was studying in Oxford. And thereafter, it was Jinnah who started giving shape to this vision called Pakistan. In 1936, Sindh, which was a part of, at that time, Mumbai state, was detached from Mumbai state and turned into a separate province. Muhammad Iqbal had spoken of Sindh as part of being future homeland of Muslims. Therefore, when Sindh was detached from Mumbai province, Savarkar issued a statement very next year when he was free from internment in Ratnagiri. He said this is an Anglo-Muslim conspiracy at the behest of the divisive land of the Muslims. So Savarkar was the first person in Indian politics who foresaw that Pakistan is coming. Thereafter, Savarkar warned Congress and the nation that Pakistan will become a reality if Congress keeps on doing Muslim appeasement. But Congress did not heed his advice. In 1938, at the behest of Muslims who were opposed to Vande Mataram, saying that Vande Mataram is puja of a deity and therefore it is Murti puja, we cannot sing. In order to appease the Muslims, the Congress sacrificed Vande Mataram and reduced it to only 2 stanzas. So Congress kept on doing misappeasement. Savarkar, on the other hand, saw in 1939, 38 that number of Hindus in the Indian army of that time, which was controlled by the British, are ratio-wise very less as compared to the Muslims. Therefore, he implored Hindus to join the army because he had foreseen that Pakistan might happen. Pakistan might be formed, might become a reality. And if on that day, if India is weaker than Pakistan in military terms, India will have to pay a very heavy price. And therefore, when the Second World War began, Britishers needed Indian soldiers for the Second World War in their fight against Japan and Germany. And therefore, they started recruiting and Hindus started getting recruited in large numbers. And between 1939 and 1944, during the World War, Muslim League, the party which was demanding Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah's party, Muslim League or its leaders issued 4 statements during these 4 years, telling the Britishers that don't recruit Hindus. It will become a danger for us. Therefore, it is very clear that this call by Savarkar to Muslims, to Hindus to join the army played a very crucial role in India's security, because in 1948, in 47, had the India army been weak as compared to Pakistan after the partition, then if you remember, Pakistan attacked Kashmir immediately after independence. Had it been much stronger than India militarily, then it would have attacked India by its land border in Rajasthan, in Gujarat. So Savarkar, even today's India owes a lot to Savarkar. Now let us come to Savarkar's Hindutva, which is sold as a divisive idea, and why Savarkar is a unifier. In 1939, the Shia Muslims of Lucknow passed a resolution saying that if a Muslim slaughters a cow which is holy for the Hindus, he will be considered an enemy of Hindu-Muslim unity. When Savarkar read this statement in newspapers at that time, 1939, he issued a statement and he told those Muslims that your step is very genuine for Hindu-Muslim unity, and if such steps keep on coming from Muslims, Hindu-Muslim unity is possible. That time, he also, in the 1930s, he also released a Hindu manifesto, in which he said that in independent India, all religions and all castes will be treated equally. However, he said, the nation will not allow creation of a nation within a nation in the name of religious minoritism. This is precisely the story of India in the first 60 years. There are fundamental issues which every Indian, particularly youngsters, should understand as to how the Muslim appeasement policies have encouraged pan-Islamism and done great damage to India's unity and integrity. For example, thousands and lakhs of temples were destroyed by Muslim invaders during the medieval period. And mind you, friends, Aurangzeb's fanaticism was only 50% of Lodi, Tughlaqs, and Khiljis, who have names, roads names after them in Delhi even today. So again, after having given Pakistan to a section of Indian Muslims, why should Hindus of this country not have got back at least 3 places of worship? Ayodhya, Mathura, and Kashi. Thousands of temples were demolished. Most Hindus were not demanding all the temples. They were demanding only 3 or 5 places. Why the Muslims and the Congress did not agree to it? Because there was Muslim vote bank politics. Now, what efforts did Savarkar make to prevent partition? He toured the entire country, enlightening the people of this country about the fact that if Muslim appeasement is kept, if Muslim appeasement by Congress goes on unendingly, then India will be partitioned. He kept on warning the nation and the Congress. Nobody heeded him. Towards 1944 end, he called the Akhand Hindustan Conference, in which the greatest intellectuals of this country, Hindu intellectuals, they supported Savarkar, not Congress. If Savarkar was communal, they would have not supported Savarkar. Who are these people? One of the greatest historians of that period, Radhakumud Mukherjee, Ramanand Chatterjee, editor of a great magazine of that time called Modern Review, which was like India Today of today, India Today magazine of today. Such people supported Savarkar in the Akhand Hindustan Conference, where they condemned the Muslim appeasement policies of the Congress. They supported Savarkar, saying that Savarkar is fighting for equal rights. He is not fighting for special Hindu rights. He is not fighting against Hindu-Muslim community. He is fighting against Muslim appeasement and radical Muslims. Now we come to Savarkar's national security vision. Veer Savarkar was the first that all the national security warnings, all the national security problems which India has faced in the last 70 years were foreseen by Savarkar 60 to 80 years ago. Let us take the Assam problem. In 1941, when the Muslim intruders from today's Bangladesh and East Bengal of that time started flooding the Brahmaputra Valley in Assam, Savarkar was the first leader from outside Assam to warn that these intruders will pose a threat to the culture of Assam and also a threat to the security of India's northeast frontier. That time, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of India. He said, nature abhors vacuum. जहां खाली जगह होगी लोग आके रहेंगे, हम उनको कैसे रोक सकते हैं? सावरकर ने उसका जवाब दिया, थोड़ा कठोर था, उनका बात करने का तरीका थोड़ा कठोर था. Savarkar, when he used to speak, was quite harsh. That was, he was totally non-populist. He said, in reaction, he said, पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू को जो पर्यावरण का ज्ञान है वो बड़ा ही निम्न कक्षा का है, क्योंकि नेचर ऑल्सो एबॉर्स पॉइजनस गैस. पर्यावरण जो है वो जहरीली गैस का भी उतना ही विरोध करता है. Now, the words might seem slightly harsh, but they have come true. That time, the Muslim population in Assam was only 10 to 12%. Today it is 35 to 36%. Moreover, many of these Muslims have become Wahhabized. Wahhabism is a threat. It dreams of a world where Islam would be the only religion in the world. So many of them have become now Wahhabis because of the propagation of Wahhabi thoughts by the Deoband School of Islam and its missionary wing, Tabligh Jamaat. Then let us come to China. Friends, when China became independent in 1948, rather China was formed in 1948, it was much weaker to India as in military as well as economic terms. But in 1942, when Savarkar saw that China has gone far ahead of India militarily, plus in 1950 it had swallowed Tibet, when Jawaharlal Nehru did not oppose China. So Savarkar warned in 1952 that nations should be beware of China. China has overtaken India militarily, and after swallowing Tibet, it is right on the border of India. That time, he advised India to become an atomic state, atomic power, nuclear power. In 1954, when Jawaharlal Nehru came up with the principle of Panchsheel, 5 principles, we spoke about brotherhood between nations, India and its neighboring nations, and implored India and its neighboring nations to accept his Panchsheel mantra. That time Savarkar warned. He said, Jawaharlal ji, after the way China has swallowed Tibet, if you talk in such weak-kneed terms with China, China's thirst for swallowing foreign land will increase. And I won't be surprised if China attacks India and swallows India's land. This Bhavishyavani, this prediction of Savarkar came true 8 years later in the 1962 India-China war, in which India was completely defeated by China. That time, he issued another statement to the youth of this nation. He said, my dear Indian youth, build some pressure on this government, Nehru government. Otherwise, we have very dark future ahead. Then he told Jawaharlal Nehru, your Panchsheel comprises beads of the rosary. जो हम माला करते हैं, उसकी जो मनके आते हैं, बीड्स ऑफ द रोजरी. और जो चाइना का पंचशील है वो है बॉम्ब, वो है मशीन गन, वो है सबमरीन, वो है मिसाइल. उस टाइम पे सावरकर ने दो सिद्धांत बताए जो भारत ने अगर उस टाइम पे अपनाए होते तो भारत आज सुपर पावर होता. क्या थे वो सिद्धांत? नंबर 1, सावरकर ने कहा मिलिट्री स्ट्रेंथ is the ultimate decider of a nation's greatness. This is proved beyond doubt by the example of Taliban. Taliban is a dreaded Islamic movement, organization, group. It claims to be a protector of Islam. It wants to spread Islam across the world. But the same Taliban, which has driven away America from Afghanistan, doesn't have to take revenge, doesn't have the guts to take revenge on China for the atrocities Chinese government is committing on the Uyghur Muslims of Xinjiang province right across the Afghanistan border. This is the biggest example of what Savarkar was saying. That military greatness, military strength is the ultimate decider of a nation's greatness. Even a most dreaded organization like Taliban doesn't have the guts to take on China for the atrocities being committed by China on brother Muslims just across the border. Because it knows that if it challenges China, which is just next door, it will make Taliban's life miserable. Second, Savarkar said that time Jawaharlal Nehru had a very myopic vision of international diplomacy. Savarkar said no two nations can be permanent friends or permanent enemies. Their relationship will be dictated by their needs. Therefore, a nation who is your friend today can become your enemy tomorrow. And a nation's enemy's enemy should be considered as a friend. And on this basis, he advised in 1940 Subhash Chandra Bose to flee India, take the help of Germany and Japan to uproot the Britishers from this country. So these two principles had India followed, which is basically nation first in true sense. The Modi government has demonstrated this in ample degree. In the Russia-Ukraine war, the Modi government stuck to national interest. This is what Savarkar was wanting 80 years ago, 60 years ago. Secondly, Savarkar was a great critic of complete non-violence principle of Mahatma Gandhi. He used to say complete non-violence is a self-defeating principle. If somebody attacks you unprovoked, then you have the right to retaliate. Gandhi used to say that you keep on getting thrashed. And if you keep on allow that person to thrash you no end, then that person will do self-introspection and he will reform, which is totally wrong. Monsters never reform. And how this policy of complete non-violence of Congress and Mahatma Gandhi had its negative impact on the nation is demonstrated by two developments. In the 1965 Indo-Pakistan war, Indian army had reached Lahore. It was just 13 kilometers away from Lahore. And the Congress government, led by Lal Bahadur Shastri at that time, accepted ceasefire under world pressure. By Savarkar's policy, we should have captured Lahore. Because Savarkar had said at the time of partition that till Pakistan remains, India won't be able to sleep in peace. Today, every day our soldiers are being killed by Pakistan-sponsored terrorists, which shows how true was the warning of Savarkar. And therefore, Savarkar had said at that time, at the first possible opportunity, we should merge Pakistan with India. That opportunity came in 1965 war, and we accepted ceasefire. And in the next year, when the Tashkent agreement was signed, India surrendered whatever it had captured in the 65 war. This was the classic example of the impact of the ideology of complete non-violence. In the 72 war, 71 war, Indo-Pak war, Mrs. Gandhi divided Pakistan into two parts, and one felt at that time that another Savarkar is born. But it turned out to be false next year, when in the Shimla agreement, India surrendered. India could not take back Pak occupied Kashmir in spite of holding 1 lakh Pakistani soldiers as captive. On top of that, India handed back 3 Hindu majority talukas which it had won in Sindh. So, Savarkar is the ultimate symbol of India's unity and integrity. And only those people project Savarkar as divisive, those who indulge in Muslim appeasement for Muslim votes. Now we come to Savarkar's apology. Since you are talking about reality, Savarkar has been, by his enemies, he has been sold, projected as one who had apologized to the British to come out of the jail, cellular jail. Friends, it is true. He did apologize, but it was part of his strategy. Chhatrapati Shivaji, in his life of 36 years, tendered 5 apologies to Aurangzeb as part of his Chanakya Niti. In 3 out of these, agreements were signed between Shivaji and Mughals. And each time, in each case, the treaty was broken by Shivaji only, because Shivaji had set a target of Hindavi Swarajya. And therefore, Shivaji used to feel that meeting my target is my primary objective, my main objective. Therefore, when I feel the enemy has become very strong, I will compromise with it, because I have to reach that target. My next book will be on Chhatrapati Shivaji, titled Samrat Shivaji, Emperor Shivaji. Was he the greatest ruler of 1000 years? In that, I have devoted one full chapter to Shivaji's Chanakya Niti, saying that Chanakya Niti was dead in the medieval period. It was Shivaji who revived it. So Savarkar was not a follower of Gandhi. So he cannot be weighed with the tools of Gandhi. He was a follower of Shivaji, and therefore he has to be weighed with the tools of Shivaji. And Savarkar has himself written in two of his books that in the Andaman jail, I used to tell my fellow prisoners who are also revolutionaries, look here, there is no point in rotting here. Let us apologize, flee this jail, and then we can continue our struggle to uproot the British from this country. So, we come to the last question as to why Savarkar is defamed and reviled. My answer is that those political parties, those ideologies which survive on fragmented India, divided India, they feel that Savarkar is the greatest threat to their plans, to their survival. Because if Savarkar's thought spreads in the youth, then India will be one nation. India will be one nation. Therefore, they want to revile Savarkar. So, in the end, I would like to say that all the allegations leveled against Savarkar are wrong. Savarkar is, in fact, the father of India's national security, because his policies, had it been followed by India in the initial years, India would have become a superpower by now. Secondly, Savarkar's Hindutva has enough space for those Muslims and Christians who want to be in the Indian mainstream. Friends, there I end my talk.
I would really like to thank you, Udayji, for the amazing and insightful lecture on Veer Savarkarji. He gave such a great vision and perspectives to us about contribution of Savarkarji. Apart from freedom struggle, it's being our pleasure to have you as our guest speaker for today. Thank you.